Okay, before we get started turning this thing, it's super cool looking. This is 99% sure a Buckeye Burl. It's got this cool little branch here and kind of a branch right in the middle around this whole burl area. And this burl and the other one I pulled out, they've been sitting out in the Arizona weather, which means 115 degree summer heat, for about 3 years. I kind of had my eye on them since I saw them 3 years ago, and they were still in the same spot when I went to buy them. So it's probably not been very kind to these. This one's not so bad. You can see cracks going pretty far down, but out here it gets super punky, and I'm afraid that this entire surface is going to be that way, or maybe really deep. Like, this feels soft. I think Buckeye's kind of soft anyway, but this feels pretty soft, so I'm probably going to make this the bottom and this the top and do a live edge, natural edge. I guess there's no bark on there, because I really want these spiky bits, and if I'm lucky I'll be able to get this little branch in there, which I think would be really cool. So I'll probably turn up some of this and maybe get this on the rim if I can, or a portion of it. But first I need to stabilize this, so I'm going to use some penetrating epoxy, thin down epoxy basically, so it will seep into the wood fibers, go into these cracks, and hopefully keep this thing together so that I can actually turn it into something before it explodes or disintegrates. So yeah, you can see some of those cracks come way up in here. So yeah, definitely it's going to need some help. So I'll get that done, and then we'll take a look at the other one. Well, I mixed up way too much epoxy for just these two small pieces, so I pulled out all the rest of the burls I got in that batch from that vendor and gave them the same treatment, because they're all pretty much in the same edition. This one was really bad. So this is a Buckeye, eucalyptus, 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 two more Buckeyes. So look for all of these in upcoming videos. Okay, the epoxy's all cured. I just waited 24 hours because I was using thin down tabletop epoxy, which has a shorter curing time. So you can see it kind of darkened the surface on the bottom there, and just really penetrated down into the spongy, punky wood and into the cracks. And it got really hard, which is good. I was hoping to just firm the whole thing up. And you can see barely anything penetrated up to the top of the bark side. So I think most of the issues were on the cut part, and just kind of weathered and cracked in the heat. So we'll get this mounted up and get to turning, and I'm super excited to see what it looks like. So I decided to turn this between centers because I wanted to try and equalize the bark side as much as possible and maximize the size from the bottom as well, since it was a nice flat surface there. So plus I wasn't too sure about a woodworm screw and getting a big enough flat spot on the top, so this was the easiest way to go. Everything's set up here. Chip curtain. There's another chip curtain. Covers the camera. Put it over there. Alright, got it all mounted up, and once again my new recording setup. I only get audio through my phone, which is a different camera. So the other thing is I've got these two new cameras that I'm using, and they have a different profile than the phone cameras I was using before. So my big LED lights that I use to help me see what I'm doing are really going to wash out this light wood once I start cutting. So I apologize for that, and we'll get through that as quick as possible. So on this particular project, I'm going to make the form of the outside of the bowl and the inside really simple, since I anticipate the figure in the wood to be super complicated and pretty. I don't want to take away from that by doing too much with the outside form. So I'm just going to round it up and then carve out, leave it a little thick and carve out the middle. First thing I'm doing here, I'm just seeing how my stabilizing job has worked once I get some of the wood cleared up. And again, sorry about the washed out picture, but basically what I'm seeing is that the resin went into the really fine cracks and stabilized them up to about an inch into the material from the bottom that you see. So the bigger cracks are going to go away as I carve a foot and that, but it did allow me to keep probably an inch of material on this blank that otherwise I probably would have had to carve away and still risk blowing up the blank. So here you can see I've got the bottom flat and good wood showing most of the way up the side. I'm not going to keep that shape, I'm going to round it up, but that one void you see in the bottom edge, I'm going to definitely turn past that so I get good wood all the way around, and then kind of go up the side a little bit until I can get a nice natural edge with a lot of the spiky bits showing. I went back and forth a little bit between a recess and a tenon on this one, and I wasn't really sure, but I decided to go with a recess and a little bit beefier foot. I figured the resin probably hardened up the wood enough that as long as I was gentle and hollowing, it should be okay. I'm going to just speed through the rest of the outside shaping here since the color is really not good, and get back to the good pictures when we get to the hollowing, hopefully. All right, finally got my lighting figured out on this sequence here, and you can see how cool the top of this looks, and there's a big branch that's right in the middle. I'm going to have to turn past that and be pretty careful. So far I'm being pretty careful. Nice slow cuts. And then I built some confidence and decided to get a little more aggressive because I'm getting down to more wood. And there we go. Almost caught it, but not quite. And luckily, the recess in the tenon wasn't damaged and the outside finish was still fine. So I lucked out there and shouldn't have got so cocky. Okay, so I got back at it here and just going to be trying to kind of work my way slowly down the inside and figure out how much of that crinkly exterior I want to have. Probably about a 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch, just so you can get some visual interest there. But I'm being a lot more careful this time, since I don't want to get another catch on one of those knobs and throw it across the shop. You can see here I switched to my J-shaped tool rest to get a little better support all the way across the bottom. As I'm cutting the bottom, it's the really twisted grain structure, and it's not proving very cooperative to cut. So I think there may be some resin that seeped into there when I did the stabilizing, and it's making it pretty hard and a little awkward, as you can see here. So I switched to my big beefy bowl scraper just to get some cleaner cuts across the bottom. So I finished doing the scraping across the bottom, and this is my final shape with the thicker rim there. And I decided to use the Sandoflex to kind of take all the sharp edges off of those burly knobs on the top. And it really works like a champ. I believe this is the 180 grit disc for this attachment, and it works really, really well. Super soft when it was done. So after the Sandoflex, I got into just the regular sanding, and you can see here I turned on my super bright light again, and that helps me to see if there's spots I missed that are still rough or torn grain or whatever. But bad lighting for detail, so we'll skip past this pretty quick. Okay, it's all sanded up. The rim doesn't have any pokey spots anymore. And I'm just going to use some Danish oil. Wow. I'm soaking it up. Look at that. You can see here the stabilizing resin came all the way down here to this crack and over here. So it definitely allowed me to keep more of the bowl, because this probably would have come away and almost all of this really pretty burl would have gone away. I'd left with this wavy stuff, but it definitely saved that. Yes, look at that. So pretty. I'm just using this Watco Danish oil, so just a decorative little bowl, so I don't mind if it's food safe or not. I'm not even sure if it is. I'll have to look it up. But it says to flood it. Excuse me, flood it, then wait 15 minutes, then come back and flood it again and wipe it off. So that's what I'll do, and I'll bring you back when it's all buffed up.